Yeah. Okay, thank you all for coming. If I could get instructors to come back here for the minute. And if we could keep the chatter to a minimum, and if we have questions, the instructors are going to be moving through you guys as this class continues. Because I'm only one person speaking, and I'd like to have a voice after this class, if we could keep the chatter to a minimum so that I don't have to shout at you the whole class, that would be great. Yeah?
Yay.
All right. So, I'd like my instructors to go through, shout off who you are, where you're from. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Glenn. I'm from Neverwinter, which is in East Texas.
Merrick, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, Talladega.
Big Head, St. Louis, Missouri, Talladega.
Unknown, Albuquerque, Dragonfly.
Banshee, Kansas City, Rivermore.
Morpheus Stroke, Polaris, Minnesota.
Darian, Neverwinter proper.
Sheltville Stroke, Polaris, out of Rochester, Minnesota. Shimazu, Omaha, that's also Rivermore.
Death, Lily, Megatron, Sunshine.
Grant Stronghead.
And that thing. Polaris, Minnesota.
Bell, South Carolina, Winter's Edge, Amp Garden, Albion for Dagbell.
Raphael, Northern Lights, Washington State.
Minima, Rising Winds from Michigan.
Kai from No Quarter, Baltimore, Maryland, Crystal Grove.
Delos from the Golden City, ATX, Austin, Texas.
Nip from Crystal Groves, Virginia.
Valcor, Champaign, Illinois, Numenor.
Coupe, Quernatema, Empire of Rivermore, Omaha, Nebraska.
Morpheus TV, St. Louis, Missouri, Talladega.
We've got a few more. Kiara?
I'm Kiara. I'm from the Wetlands.
Hey. Where's Zeb run off to? There's a few more of you. Michael's down there. Brett's down there. You should know them. We've got Zeb hiding here. Gillen. And that man hiding behind him. Okay. Who's all ready for SKBC? Right. Okay, we're going to have a great time this weekend. Let's focus on positive attitudes. Let's focus on fighting. Let's have a really good time. I can do it. You can do it. We can all do it. Let's do it together. Yeah? Yes. Okay, foundations. Welcome to Foundations, SKBC 2023. Foundations start with the ground, so we're going to start there. Okay? Now, everything in fighting stems from pushing off of the ground. Whether you're swinging, whether you're stepping. When you take a step, you don't just lift your foot up and put it down. You push off of the ground to move forward. Okay? Yeah? Yeah. Right. When you take a swing, you push off of the ground to create momentum for a swing. Okay? So, having a good grasp of what you need to do with your feet on the ground is important. When you step, there are two ways to step. You can step with your forward foot forward, you can step with your off foot forward, creating a cross step. Or if you're going backwards, it's the same thing. With your back foot forward or your front foot crossing forward, right? Yeah? Both have their benefits. Okay? If you're going right or left, you're going to be stepping either this way or this way. Right? Yeah, we'll get there. This way or this way, right? Okay? If you have one foot off of the ground, can you move this leg? No. Without hopping? Without hopping, right? No. So if you swing like this, you can't really move anywhere, right? Yeah? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, now, the benefit of foot positioning, we'll go back to stepping in a minute. Your foot positioning. If you have your feet, in order to take a step, you have to put your weight over one of your feet and lift up your other foot, right? You can't go like this and lift up this foot without gathering your weight over this leg, right? Yeah. Right? Okay. So, that being said, the closer your feet are together, the faster you can move one direction. Okay? If I'm like this, in order for me to move forward, I have to gather and go. If my feet are together, I can lift up my foot and go. Okay?
Yeah, good.
Mind's blown? Good. If I'm going left or right, it's a little bit different because you can kind of let your weight fall into your step. Right? You don't necessarily have to gather and then step unless you're taking a very big step. Your legs are only so long. It's a good try. See, positive attitude. Okay, your legs are only so long. If my legs are like this, when I take a step, I want to move my core one way or the other. Right? So I move my core this far. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
If my legs are together and I take a step, I move my core this far.
Yeah.
Right? I know this all seems like, you know, some severe baby steps, but without this understanding of these basic concepts, there's going to be a lot of times where what is being taught to you is going to completely fall short. Okay? Are there any questions on those basic ideas that I just went over? Good. Easy. All right. Foot positioning. There are two ways to fight. You can fight with your sword foot forward, your weapon foot forward, or your funny foot forward. All right? Generally, you want to find some sort of mix on where you put your feet. Now, in order to understand what works for you and what will work for whatever situation you are in, you need to understand what benefits you gain from having your feet in different locations. Like I said before, if your feet are close together, it's really easy for you to change location or take long steps. Right? If your feet are further apart, it's much harder for somebody to knock you over. It's much harder for somebody to take a step that you can't compensate for. Right? It's easier for you to drop your center of gravity. Okay? So you want some sort of balance between coming here and being way out here like a movie ninja. Okay? Also, which foot is forward and how far forward and where your feet are in a line is also going to dictate movement. If your feet are in a line, it's really easy to travel along that line. Right? It's much harder to move your weight back upon a leg and change direction. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
If you guys want to step and follow along, that's great. You can wake up a little bit. So that being said, and then if you have your feet in a line this way, it's really easy to shuffle your steps. It's much more difficult to then go forward or backwards. Right?
Yeah.
So some sort of mix in there in between. If you're fighting somebody that likes to circle you, maybe your feet stay in a line, stay parallel with each other as the fight moves forward, so that you can then circle with them. If you're fighting somebody that likes, or your goal is to be very linear and pounce on somebody, then it will benefit you to have your feet more in a line. As a standard rule, I like to have my back foot in line with the toe, or my front foot heel in line with the toe of my back foot. For me, this creates a really good balance of being able to step forward. I can gather my weight on one foot very easily and move forward. I can gather my weight very easily and move backwards. I can gather my weight really easily and move right or left. Okay? So look at your feet. Let's find a position of your feet. Get in the fighting stance. You guys start moving around.
Yeah.
Get in the fighting stance. And we're going to do some stepping. Spread out. Give yourself some space.
I thought you this before. It's dancing.
All right? Now, let's look at our feet. Now I want you guys all to work on stepping forwards and backwards. And move your feet around and see how it makes a difference whether your feet are in a line or whether they're spread out. Okay? Just forwards and backwards at this time. Just forwards and backwards. All right? And do it with either foot. Do a cross step forward or a cross step backwards.
I try to keep my body
Well, in order to understand how you can use it, you should do it.
I don't ever want to be in a situation
The refusal of
necessarily
information
where
is your
I'm
choice.
reaching across my body trying to fight like that. So typically it's going to be
That's right.
a little sly.
Okay. All right, what did people notice? 20 foot feels weird. Okay? Did you guys notice anything different than what I described on what will help you moving forwards or backwards? Whether your feet are further apart or closer together, or in line, or parallel.
How far my hips swing out when I move. So like with a wider stance, I feel like my hips just swing. With the closer stance, I feel like my hips just pass in a line almost.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Anyone else?
If you're looking at your feet, you're moving less.
That's true. Derek, let me see your sword. All right, we talked about moving our core. All right, now let's touch on this, the stepping cross-footed. Okay? If I'm moving my core and I step cross-foot, right? I've moved my core this sort of space. Okay? Right? Like that sort of spacing. If I have my core here and I step forward here, right? I've moved further.
What?
Right? Okay? Now, stepping funny foot can have its purposes. It can change which hand you have forward. It can change the orientation between me and them and which hand they have hand matching me. So there are purposes to that movement. You can also use it as a gathering step, right? You can take, it doesn't look like I've moved much further forward, but now I've moved enough forward that now I can lunge and attack somebody, right?
Doesn't it move your dominant hand back?
Unless my dominant hand was back to begin with.
Okay.
Right?
Or if he's having a stick in his hand.
It feels like it's further back.
Right? Okay.
Almost like.
Now, stepping, let's do the same thing, but we're gonna go left and right, okay? Now don't run into each other. All right, now look for the same things. Look for the same things. Moving left and right. Change your foot orientations. See how it feels.
Fancy's been yelling at me for my footwork.
All right, make sure you do your crossover steps.
That's the goal right there.
Peter, when you say crossover steps, what do you mean by that?
So
Which foot leads?
Got it. Okay. Not like actual. You don't mean like actual crossover, like.
Yeah, step,
yeah.
how it feels.
yeah, just try it.
That feels awful.
It's not necessarily that you would ever
like
do
that?
that, but it's definitely a movement that you can make, and it still has a correct method of crossing to reorient yourself. So if it feels uncomfortable or it feels weird,
All right.
again, even if you never intend on doing it in fighting,
All right.
making it where it doesn't feel so awkward, that's just another tool for you.
Yeah, like if I'm up close and grinding, and if I take a step like this, I feel like I'm asking to be brushed to put off balance. You know what you can do? Do what? You know what you can do?
Okay. Let's
Oh,
calm
gotcha.
down.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right. What'd you guys notice? What'd you feel?
Okay.
Did anyone feel anything different than what I described?
Okay. That makes sense.
You keep you mobile. You're already so mobile.
Strain on my hips.
Crossing your feet puts strain on your hips, puts strain on your knees as well.
Again, crossing is a problem, but like it also made it easier for my shoulders to be still.
That's true. That's true.
When you cross your legs, I would step wider than my initial stance.
Sure.
Not in this like intense recovery, it just felt natural for my stance to come out wider.
Right. Okay. Now, crossing your feet on general principle is a terrible idea. Okay? The thing that crossing your feet does is that when your feet are like this, you can't gather your weight over one foot or the other very easily. Therefore, you cannot step very easily. Therefore, you are dead where you are. Okay? This is a general rule. That's a very terrible thing to do. Okay? But from my experience, you should try everything. Okay? And find what works for you. Okay? All right, now, again, with your feet, when you're stepping, it's important to bend your knees. It's important to slide into a step. The other thing that's important with a step is bringing the back leg with you. All right? When you take a step forward, you don't take a step forward and leave your back foot where it is. You bring your back foot with you. All right? So your steps are kind of like a gliding step where your back leg glides with you. All right? You're picking up your forward leg. Your forward leg is going to the destination. Your back leg is creating the force in which to move you there and coming with you. If your leg does not come with you, you can't do anything but step back to where it was. Right? Bring that back leg with you.
Yeah.
Okay? Any questions on that? Any questions on basic movement?
When do you step with your heel versus your toe?
It's a good question. So everyone's feet, work differently. People have feet issues, whatever. Your footwear is all different. Fight in footwear that is comfortable for you. If you end a day of fighting and you're like, man, my feet hurt, buy some different goddamn shoes. Okay? Take care of your feet, take care of your body. If you ever end a day fighting and you're sore or hurt, more than just muscle usage, like actual structural pain, change something. Okay? Do not abuse what you've been given in your body. All right? Wear comfortable shoes that you can control yourself and not hurt yourself by falling down. Stepping with the toe versus the heel. You can step with a traditional step, like a rocker step, where you're rocking forward from your heel to your toe. You can gain a little bit more distance that way, right, with a step. If you step to your toe, you're kind of ending at a point, right? So depending upon what sort of flexibility you want with your movement, like that's how you're going to dictate that, right? So that can be very situational. We should do both so that you can do both, okay? Now bending in the knees is important, right? You should warm up your knees before fighting so that you can step well, so you're not walking like this. All right, get some spring in your step. I recommend doing aerobic exercise so that you can move and fight well. So moving up from your knees to your hips. Do we have any questions on the lower half now? Or anything any of you guys want to add quickly? No? Great. All right. Sorry?
Windmills do great for knee and hip mobility.
You want to demonstrate?
Oh.
Like this?
Oh.
90-90s.
Yeah.
Oh.
Great. Okay. Now, your hips and your lower back and your core, right? There's a whole lot of bending and twisting when it comes to throwing a shot. I will come back to this, but it's very important that you want to limber up a little bit. So we're all going to limber up a little bit. All right? If anyone is old like me, this feels great.
Yes.
All right, let's reach up to the sky. High as you can. Lean to the right.
Look to your left, look to your right. Remember?
Lean to your left. Okay, now we're going to turn. Reach to the sky.
Whole bunch of
Lean forward a little bit.
Don't have it right.
Back to the center. Turn to the right. Lean forward a little bit.
I did right already. I was following you, I got screwed up.
Back to the center. Relax.
Oh, thank God.
Good job, everyone. That's good. Yeah. That's great. Okay, now real quick, I'm going to cover guard positioning. Your hand is your guard, right? As a general rule, you have a box that resides between the center of your chest, like your nipple line down to your belly button, and from the edge of your pectorals down to the edge of your hips, okay? And your hand is going to reside somewhere within that box, okay? There are 3 types of guards. you have a denial guard where the sword is vertical, yeah? And you're gonna deny either the outside, anything from your hand, like so. All right, let me digress. You have an inside and an outside lane in any given situation. Inside lane is from your hand to your body, right? Anything inside your hand that is closer to your body. This is my inside lane. Any questions? Then this is my inside. My body is the inside. Right?
Yeah.
Outside is outside, the opposite side. Out there. Outside my hand, away from my body. Okay? When you have a denial guard, you're denying either the outside or the inside. Okay? Right? A baiting guard. A baiting guard is essentially a horizontal denial. Right? So you're either denying or baiting the lower, you're denying the higher, or opposite, low to high. Okay? Then you have a ranging guard, where you are keeping your sword forward, putting it into their business, making them not want to be close to you. Right? Right? Okay? Now, a guard does not have to be any one of these things. A guard could be somewhere, some mix in between. Okay? Moving your guard around will help you, and you can learn what the different positionings of the guard and the relation of your weapon to your body will do to you and your opponent. These are things you should play with. All right? Now, one more thing with guard. The further your hand is away from your body, the easier it will be for you to protect yourself. Much like a goalie in soccer approaching the ball, you're cutting off an angle. Just punch your sword straight forward. Now, if my hand is close to my body and I want to cover from my right to my left, right, I need to have my hand here so he can't hit me. And if I'm going to go to the inside, I need to bring my hand about here. So it's about that much coverage, right, between my thumbs, right? If my hand is further out, I'm going from here about here, right? Which is about this far. Okay? All right, so if I'm going to be blocking, like I said, close in, I'm going from here to here. Yeah? If my hand is further out, I'm going to be blocking from here to here. Okay? Now that being said, you don't really want to fight with your arm and your elbow all the way locked. So you're going to have some sort of mixture of in between. Right? Any questions? Any questions on guard? All right, we're going to move into the basic shots. Now this is where all you Muppets will be really helpful. Okay? Now, basic shots. All right, we're going to start off with a chop. The chop is using the body and the arm to create momentum with a downward motion. Okay? Now, like I said before, any sort of pushing off of the ground is what's going to generate your force. Force is transferred from your feet to your knee, to your hip, to your shoulders, and out your arm, right? Right? Or you let gravity help you, where you're dropping into the shot. Okay? All right, this isn't a shot mechanic class, so I'm only going to scrape on this. All right, so a chop, right? The downward motion. All right? We all understand what a chop is. Any questions on a chop? Great. All right, now we have our slash and our long slash. All right, a slash is generating force by pushing off one foot, transferring to the other foot, and turning your hips while you do it with a horizontal swing. Okay? Right? Both a chop and a slash or a long slash are going to deliver the shot after your hand passes the target area. Right? Come here. All right, so if I'm throwing a slash, my hand's going to pass by the target area and then deliver the shot. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on a slash?
How's it different than a flat chop?
a different school.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that we're doing this foundations class is so everybody is on par with each other for what terms we're going to be using and trying to stick to throughout this entire thing, so there's not a ton of confusion between stuff or like, oh, is this like, is a money shot, a reverse wrap, is a like whatever. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is none to answer that question.
It's just so we all understand each other.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Any other questions? Okay, great. All right, now we're going to move to our wraps. All right, a wrap is where we create a triangle between the tip of our weapon and us, and our hand. Okay? Now, if you imagine there is a line that goes from the tip of my sword to my shoulder, right? You see how if we imagine that line, you see how there's the triangle, right? Now, what a triangle allows me to do is circumvent a plane. Let me grab a shield. It's going to allow me to circumvent a plane which I want to travel around, whether it's a sword or a shield. The shield's really easy to see, okay? Now, because I'm making this triangle, I can circumvent this plane, right? As long as there's a triangle, I'm circumventing the plane, right?
Yes.
That is what constitutes a wrap shot. The other thing is that your hand is going to be, it's not going to have reached the target area when it actually strikes. Okay? So if his shoulder is the target area, the tip of my sword is leading the way. Right? It's not like a chop where my hand leads the way. Right?
Yes.
Right? Okay. Now, there's lots of ways to throw a wrap. A wrap is going to, if you boil it down to the bare basics, whether you're throwing a thumb lead, or you're turning your hand over, or whether you're throwing flat, it's all going to do one thing. It's going to take your weapon and it's going to bring it either like this or like this. Okay? Creating the triangle. No matter how it ends, no matter how it travels, it's going to end in one of these ways. Right? The important thing to remember is that the mechanic of the shot is not going to change the elbow and the shoulder motion of the shot, whether it's a chop or a wrap. Okay? The only thing that's going to change is the orientation of your hand. Now, if I'm throwing a chop, my hand is going to be vertical, right? A chop is going to be horizontal. Sorry, a wrap, yeah, right. A wrap is horizontal versus a chop is vertical, right? Chop, wrap. All right? Triangle created. And all I had to do it was turn my hand. Okay? So you're going to change which direction your elbow is pointing. A reverse is this. So this is your standard wrap. A reverse wrap is you're doing the opposite thing. You're turning your palm up, and you're creating a vector here, a triangle here to circumvent. Right? Okay? Now, the important thing to remember about a reverse wrap that everyone does, well, not everyone, most people do incredibly wrong, right, is that you don't actually have to go like this, right? All that matters is how the hand position in relation to the tip of my sword and my shoulder ends the shot, right? So if I'm throwing here, like this is a reverse wrap coming around this, and all I did was like a sweeping chop. Okay? Right? You know, like I don't have to do the traditional, like, you don't have to do this to get that. Okay? Right? And the variance in which your angle of between your hand and your shoulder is gonna change the range of the shot. It's also gonna change the depth of the shot. How deep of a plane you need to circumvent. Right? Okay. Yeah, help yourself.
So I want to go back to the last thing you said on guard, because I think when we go into wrap, this is important. You were talking about projecting your guard. The farther you project your guard, the less you have to move to block chops and slashes.
Correct.
The easier it is to get hit by wraps. The closer the thing that you're trying to circumvent is to you, the easier it is to circumvent. So it's just important to know, especially when you're playing the game of trying to manipulate your opponent, that as that guard gets projected, wraps become more and more effective as it gets pulled back chops and straight shots become more and more effective.
Next class start at 10:30.
11.
Well, this one goes to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
I touch one thing, wraps. So one safety thing for wraps, right? What Peter was demonstrating is wrist rotation, right? You still want to keep the position of your wrist neutral. A good way to hurt yourself is by bending the wrist, by trying to make that curve happen. Keep a strong neutral wrist and let rotation, where your elbow changes direction, deliver the actual rotation of the shot itself.
Right. Good point. Both good points. Okay, any questions? Yeah.
Is there any chance we can move into the shade?
No.
Not big enough area.
Any other questions? All right, now for a little bit of time here while this is all fresh, I want you guys to pair off and practice hitting each other. Okay? Now the goal of this is not. Hey, shut up! Listen up!
Hey, listen up!
Listen up! I'm not done. The goal of this is not to beat the crap out of each other. Okay? The goal of this is to understand what was just conveyed. All right? So these are slow chops. We're being friendly to each other, right? These are slow motion, creating the motion in which we were just shown. Okay? Right? Work through what you just saw. All right? Throw some wraps. You know, practice circumventing a plane. Right? And moving where the guard is so that you can feel where it goes. Yeah? Keep going, yeah. Right? All right, and then we'll switch. Yeah! Okay? All right. Pair up. Let's do it. Thank you.
If you can't find somebody, instructors will be happy to pair with you.
This is a good sword test and then drop your sword.
Oh, yeah.
I've noticed, like, watching video that people do this very, very difficult. All the time. Never can snap.
Yeah, that's a different.
I was like, does this guy not like me? I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Also, that's what I need to do. That's how you do it.
I'm rapping.
It's not that. That's not not Joanne.
So, talk about the weight dropping part. You can drop it.
You just gotta just go for that drop mentality instead. Be like, hey, we gotta
Gather up!
come now, come
Gather up! You gotta put it into the wax. Gather up!
I was not. There might have been.
Gather up!
I think half. I know myself.
Alright, I need your attention for a short while longer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, last thing I want to cover before we digress a little bit and kind of go on our way for the morning. The last thing I want to cover is stabs. Some of our favorite things to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright?
Yeah. I knew it was coming.
Okay, there are essentially two types of stabs. One in which your elbow is behind your hand and you're moving forward to create a stab, straight stab, right? And one where your elbow is off to one side, creating a hook stab. All right? The biggest difference between these two is that one is essentially creating a wrapping scenario and one is creating a chop or a slash scenario, right? The straight stab is very quick, it's very to the point, right? Whereas a hook stab will circumvent a plane, okay? Right? It's very favorable to stab people in locations that are natural pockets on the body. These natural pockets are all over the place. Some people have more than others. But generally they are in this, like your collarbone, there's a natural pocket here. The armpit, the hip pocket, the belly button, the center of the chest.
The groin.
The groin. Yeah?
Can you demonstrate on spicy where the
Okay? Now, with stabbing, something I want to be it's very important to tell you guys that stabbing is the biggest cause of injury in the recipient and the deliverer in fighting. All right? Having a locked arm and you stab is the best way, the most common way for people to hurt their elbows within fighting. Stabbing delivers a whole lot of force in a tiny little area onto a person, right? It's very easy to destroy the end of a sword and hurt somebody with a stab, okay? When we fight, we take care of each other and ourselves, okay? So take care of the people that are there to fight you. Whether or not you like them personally, whether or not you agree with them politically, whatever the case may be, okay? We all love this game. We don't need to go around hurting each other. Right? Thank you, that's very nice. So, like I said, be kind to each other. You don't have to stab each other into next week. It is funny to laugh with your friends about it. I've done it. We've all done it. We shouldn't do it. Be nice to people. Okay? All right. Other things I want to talk about. Safety gear. I wear big gloves that protect my hands. I like my hands. I like my thumbs. Right? A lot of people wear safety goggles, safety helmets. Whatever you need to do to play this game safely, do it. There's no shame in protecting yourself. There's no shame in, there's no one like not being, you know, oh, like you're wearing a helmet, you're not very manly. No, that is ridiculous. Wear whatever you need for protective gear to protect yourself. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Without judgment, without anything. Yes?
In that vein, piercings, I know that headshots aren't supposed to happen. They still sometimes do. I've seen piercings rip out.
Yeah, try not to hit each other in the head. All right? Now, I need your attention. I need your attention. We're almost ready to have a really good time. But Delos is going to talk to you guys about the pods that are coming.
All right. So